Subcommittee Chairman Doyle, Ranking Member Lada, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Frances Haugen. I used to work at Facebook. I joined the company because I believe Facebook has the potential to bring out the best in us. But I'm here today because I believe that Facebook's products harm children, stoke division in our communities, threaten our democracy, weaken our national security, and much more. Facebook is a company that is paid for its immense profits with our safety and security. I am honored to be here today to share what I know, and I'm grateful for the level of scrutiny these issues are getting. I hope we can stay focused on the real harms to real people rather than talk in abstractions. This is about the teenagers whose mental health is undermined by Instagram, and it is about their parents and teachers who are struggling to deal with the consequences of that harm. It is about the doctors and nurses who have to cope with conspiracies about COVID-19 and vaccines. It is about people who have suffered harassment online. It is about families at home and around the world who live in places where hate, fear, and conflict have been ratcheted up to a fever pitch as a result of online radicalization. Facebook may not be the cause of all these problems, but the company has unquestionably made them worse. Facebook knows what is happening on the platform, and they have systematically underinvested in fighting those harms. They know they do far too little about it. In fact, they have incentives for it to be this way, and that is what has to change. Facebook will not change until the incentives change. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but they repeatedly chose to ignore these options and continue to put their profits before people. They can change the name of the company, but unless they change the products, they will continue to damage the health and safety of our communities and threaten the integrity of our democracies. There have been many others sounding the same alarm. This committee has heard from many experts in recent years. They have done the painstaking work of documenting these harms and have been repeatedly gaslit by Facebook about what they found. My disclosures back up their findings. We have long known that Facebook's business model is problematic. Now we have the evidence to prove it. The documents I have shared with Congress speak for themselves. What I have to say about these documents is grounded in far more than my experience at Facebook. I have worked as a product manager at large tech companies since 2006, including Google, Pinterest, Yelp, and Facebook. My job has largely focused on algorithmic products like Google Plus Search and recommendation systems like the one that powers Facebook Newsfeed. I know my way around these products, and I have watched them evolve over the many years. Working at 4 major tech companies that operate different types of social networks has given me the perspective to compare and contrast how each company approaches and deals with different challenges. The choices being made by Facebook's leadership are a huge problem for our children, for our communities, and for our democracy. That's why I came forward. And let's be clear, it doesn't have to be this way. They can make different choices. We are here today because of deliberate choices Facebook has made. During my time at the company, first working as the lead product manager for civic misinformation and later on counter-espionage, I saw that Facebook repeatedly encountered conflicts between its own profits and our safety. Management consistently resolved those conflicts in favor of its own profits. I want to be extremely clear. This is not about good ideas or bad ideas, or good people and bad people. Facebook has hidden from you the countless ways to make the platform itself safer so that don't require anyone to pick and choose what ideas are good. But Facebook hid these options from you because the status quo made them more money. We're having a conflict over things that we could solve in other ways that don't compromise speech. Facebook wants you to have analysis paralysis, to get stuck in false choices and not act here. Facebook does not have safety by design, and it chooses every day to run the system hot because it maximizes their profit. The result is a system that amplifies division, extremism, and polarization. Facebook is running the show whether we know it or not. Facebook's choices have led to disastrous ends in too many cases. Facebook's amplification promotes violence that harms and even kills people. In other cases, Facebook's profit-optimizing machine is generating self-harm and self-hate, especially for vulnerable groups like teenage girls, the socially isolated, and the recently widowed. No one is held accountable. These problems have been confirmed repeatedly by Facebook's own internal research, secrets that do not see the light of day. This is not simply a matter of some social media users being angry or unstable. Facebook has made a $1 trillion company by paying for its profits with our safety, including the safety of our children, and that is unacceptable. This committee's attention, this Congress's action are critical. The public deserves further investigation and action to protect customers on several fronts. First, given that platforms like Facebook have become the new cybersecurity attack surface on the United States, our national security demands more oversight. Second, we should be concerned about how Facebook's products are used to influence vulnerable populations. Third, we must correct the broken incentive system that perpetuates consistent misalignment between Facebook's decisions.
Ms. Haugen, you need to wrap up your statement.
Okay. I'll skip forward. As you consider reforms to Section 230, I encourage you to move forward with your eyes open to the consequences of reform. Congress has instituted carve-outs of Section 230 in recent years. I encourage you to talk to human rights advocates who can help provide context on how the last reform of 230 had dramatic impacts on the safety of some of the most vulnerable people in our society, but has been rarely used for its original purpose. Last thing, they should consult with the international human rights community, who have seen firsthand how authoritarian governments around the world can weaponize reductions in intermediary liability and silence dissent. There is a lot at stake here. You have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to create new rules for our online world. I came forward at great personal risk because I believe we still have time to act, but we must act now. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to try to adhere to the 5-minute rule. This is a very important